This video will be a real treat. I will show you how you can combine several different printmaking techniques to achieve unexpected and exciting results. You will not be restricted by a plate and you will have freedom to experiment with various printmaking methods to achieve one print. This is the print we'll be making. We will use Yupo paper to create monoprinted background, followed by adding Silkscreen Collagraph shapes and relief stamps, finishing with Drypoint. All of this will be achieved using newsprint masks. Hope you enjoy the video. I'm really excited to introduce my new print. It took me ages to get the design right. I did several sketches in oil pastels. I changed my mind about the colours several times and about the design. As you can see, quite a lot of sketches there. And finally, I came up with this one. I used a technique of mixed media printmaking where I created elements of relief printing, Drypoint plate, silkscreen shapes, and some monoprinting. So I have this silkscreen, which is mainly used for screen printing, and this is, I believe, 55T, and that has to do with how fine the mesh is. This creates a sort of almost aquatint-like effect for printmaking. I could just glue it with acrylic media to some cardboard, but the problem with that would be if you use medium to glue it in, there would be areas where there would be more glue than others. It would just create an uneven surface. So I have this double sticky film, which is what I'm going to use. It's quite soft because I want to create shapes that I can cut out, or I want this to be thin as I'm going to press it onto my press and print with shapes. I want this to be quite flexible. So I'm going to use this sort of, I'm not going to glue it onto anything. I'm just going to use it as it is, because it's great flexibility. So here I'm just cutting out the silk screen, and I'm going to peel off the sheet, and I'm attaching it sort of from the middle because I'm trying to avoid getting bubbles underneath. I mean, it's quite difficult and you will get some, but if you kind of just do it sort of gradually like I did here, and you can always peel it off and get rid of the bubble and peel it back on. So it's a little bit fiddly, but it's well worth it, and you can get it quite smooth actually. So just need to get rid of all the edges with scissors, and it's done. So the idea is this silk mesh, if I inked it up right now with black ink and wipe the ink off, it would print really dark. It would print black. And the reason why is because this fine mesh that this silk creates is an ideal environment to trap ink. What you can do is, by using acrylic paint or medium, you can lift, you can, if I painted this right now with acrylic paint or medium, it would cover the mesh, it would cover the silk screen, and it would create a lighter surface. So, for example, as I'm going to do right now, if I painted over here some shapes with acrylic paint, which has a semi-matte sort of properties, or gloss acrylic medium, it would create a sort of grey area, a light or even almost white area against this dark. I will explain it. Once you see what I do, you will see what I mean. For demonstration purposes, it would have been better if I used a different color than white. it's going to be difficult to see white, but what I'm hoping is that because the backing sheet is blue and when I paint with white, you will be able to see it. The reason why I'm doing it with white is because when I actually ink up, it will be less confusing because I will be able to see the lighter area. Anyway, you'll know what I mean. I have done in the past, I will show you. This is a plate I have made using this technique in the past, and I used red paint, and actually when I was inking up and wiping ink off, it was quite confusing having a color there. So I'm not going to do that. As you can see, hopefully, if I show you against the light, I used various methods of applying paint and stencil marks and using very much gloss media like this. However, the gloss media obviously is see-through, so it's very difficult to imagine what this plate will look like. But you'll get an idea. I'm just going to show you a picture of it. And yeah, so this is the effect that these plates can produce. I put this one on a hard board because it was just a plate in itself. I wasn't creating shapes, but just to show you this plate, as I was creating it, can produce really gorgeous marks. So you see here, this mark was produced, and obviously it's a mirror image. This was just a proof print before I did more work to it. But for example, you can't see, I haven't done the stamp here, the stencil here yet. But it gives you an idea of what will happen, how dark it actually gets. This is without any paint on it. You can see here how dark it prints. Carborundum could only achieve that darkness in printmaking. So I'm after creating some exciting textures. I have got quite a nice expressive brush, sort of. So I think what I'm going to do is I would like some straight strokes. Then I'm going to create some more wavy strokes. If you dilute, obviously, if the paint is really thick, you will get a lot lighter shade when wiping ink off. But if you dilute it with water, it will be darker because it will still show through some of the mesh. So if I have a very dilute paint, that will work as a darker shade. Now this is really nice here. So I'm just playing really. So this is quite thick paint. I'm applying really thick paint here. So that will really wipe the ink off, but it will create here. I'm quite excited about these expressive brush strokes. So then I just followed making mark making basically all over the Silkscreen Collagraph, and I wanted some of them to be curvy and some of them straight, just so I have some options when I cut them out, and I can play around with them. I might not use all of it. I might use this for some other artwork later on, but basically it's just there so I can dig into it whenever I want to. Yeah, here I'm just using a smaller brush as opposed to a thicker brush, just to have a variety of mark making. And then I just, once I knew what shapes I wanted for my artwork, I've just cut them out with a scalpel knife. On the other side is better because you are not going to catch the silk screen and rip it. So once I've had all my Collagraph shapes, Silkscreen Collagraph shapes, I used this Yupo paper, which is wonderful. It's an A3 size Yupo paper, and I'm using it to create a monoprint background. So I'm basically just applying intaglio ink. You can use Akua or intaglio printmaker's ink or any other intaglio ink you like, or brand you prefer. And the next step is going to apply yellow all over here, because I want some yellow to show through when I do the mountains. And as you can see, I'm in a different environment. So this part of the video has been actually filmed in Cohen Studio, where I go, it's a printmaking workshop with lots of exciting huge presses, and I come to do some larger prints here as my press has got smaller bed. So all I'm doing here really is applying some ink with a scalpel knife and just working it onto the Yupo paper. And I probably have applied a little bit generous here, but I have kind of smoothed it out with a roller, as you can see. I did have a little bit of a splodge when I ran it through the press. So probably when I make it a second time, I will use a little bit less ink. Might just water it down a little bit. I mean, not water it down. Use extender or wiping compound to loosen it up a bit and use a bit less ink. But anyway, it's I'm just applying ink here for my monoprinting background on Yupo paper, using some brush strokes as well, expressive brush strokes, and some mark making too. Which is part of my design, as you saw in my sketch. And also I've just made some kind of lines here as well. And here I've got a great sort of blotter station where my paper's been wetted and it's now being blotted, which is fabulous. I love this. Okay, so I've put my print on the press with my blotted paper. And this is the press I'm using here in Cohen Studio. It's huge. I love it. I can have really big sized prints, which is quite exciting. And look at it. It's huge. Got big wheel, very industrial type of press. It's quite exciting. And here we go. Okay, it's a good start. Only a tiny little bit of a problem here. I was worried about the thickness of ink and how it would affect the work, but so far I'm not really too worried about it. If you enjoy watching my videos and would like to help to support me to make more videos, you can do it in 3 ways. You can either like and subscribe, which is a great help already. You can become my channel member and get extra perks and extra content, as well as some monthly meetups, by clicking on join button on my homepage of the channel. Or you can do a super thanks on an individual video or donate to my channel. Thanks for watching. Right, so now it's time to ink up my Silkscreen Collagraph shape. So I just applied the ink with a paintbrush. It's black, I believe, or sepia by Intaglio Printmakers. It's an etching ink. And as you can see, as I'm wiping the ink off with a scrim, you can start seeing the brush strokes of acrylic paint I applied. This is actually grey, so I think I've mixed the sepia with a bit of white, but you can actually see it's showing up the white acrylic paint against the darker silkscreen background, which absorbs all the ink, which is exactly what I wanted. So just placing these collagraph shapes on my print. And as you can see, I'm doing it sort of partially on top of the yellow and partially on top of the blue sky. That's kind of intentional, as this, I want this yellow to show through the Silkscreen Collagraph. And just putting the lovely blankets on, and this press is so much fun. And here we go, revealing the next stage. I have to say, I am actually very pleased with how these Silkscreen Collagraphs have turned up. Even to the point that I think I might make a print which is kind of entirely focused on that part. So I really like the effect. I actually like the lines that have come through. Some really delicate, gorgeous textures. Really rather pleased with this effect. I need to still work on the rest of the artwork, but I think we're getting there. All right, so now it's time to ink up my LINO print stamps. So I made these in my studio at home earlier, and they were just based on some sketches I had of trees. And again, I'm using relief ink here, and I'm using this special relief press at Kerwin, which is wonderful. You sort of adjust it with how many bits of paper you need until you get the right pressure. When you pull the lever, it sort of needs to be just the right kind of resistance, if you like, for it to work really nicely. It's a bit of a trial and error, but it's a wonderful press. I'm sorry I have cut, my video camera has cut the top of it, yeah, it produced a lovely result. It didn't slip or anything, it was just perfect. So yeah, really, really nice effect. So you can have a piece of lino, carve into it and do your little stamp. But anyway, this is I'm going to come back to relief stamping, but this is a Drypoint plate on a Perspex, on a Drypoint Perspex, and I've used it in one of my videos before actually, and I just scratched a load of lines on them. I really love it. I use it in 3 different prints of mine, and it just gives me that kind of sketchy cross-hatchy effect that's giving me a nice contrast to what else is going on in a print. And here I'm just using my etching press and using my etching ink, and placing it on the yellow background, using a newsprint masking. So I don't want it sort of just to be like a rectangular blob, so obviously using the newsprint just gives me more control of where this Drypoint stamp is going to go. And again, really love this effect, and I decided to do the entire yellow part of the print using, and as you saw just before I put the blankets down, I protected the borders with the newsprint as well, so I can maintain the clean border. And there we go. Very satisfying part when you pull off the plate and peel off the newsprint. Wonderful, so much fun. Okay, so here I have got another relief stamp that I've created in my studio, and I've just carved it into a soft lino, and I'm using the same color print, which is kind of a mixture of burnt sienna with a little bit of yellow, Indian yellow, I believe. And I wanted this to be part of the sort of foreground. It was a bit of a weird shape, but I utilized it. I didn't want to cut it up because I thought it would look quite good. And again, I used this wonderful relief press. And unfortunately, my phone died, so I didn't quite... oh, no, hang on, not yet. In the next one, because I've decided to do the same stamp again, all over again. And unfortunately, my phone died when I revealed it. but you'll get an idea when I show you the final print. And here we go. So this is the final product, and as you can see, there is a bit of an overprinted that stamp in a foreground over itself slightly, and then I got that really interesting shape in there. That was kind of a mistake, but a mistake that turned out okay. Yes, interesting mixture of different techniques. I really wanted to create something different. I might still have to work on this, but I'm happy with the result, and I might experiment with different colors as well. And maybe those collagraph shapes could be utilized in a different print and do something a little bit more with it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and hope I've inspired you to try different printmaking techniques and feel sort of loose with them and not constricted by, I guess, one plate and one technique. Thank you for watching, and have a good evening.